In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the cost per mile and load profit calculator. Let's get started. So in order for us to get the data, the first thing we need to do is come to fleet setup. And here you're going to put how many trucks you have in your company. So let's just say you operate one truck, leave that one truck. But if you have multiple trucks, like 5 trucks, you can select fleet totals. So for this example, I'm going to leave it at one truck. Next, you're going to add the total miles you've driven for the month. If you're doing your cost per mile once a month, you can do your cost per mile once a week as well. Then if you're going to do it once a week, add your miles for that week. But let's just make it easy. We're going to do it for the month. So let's say you did 11,500 miles for the month. And you can get this from your ELD provider. Your ELD provider should be able to tell you how many miles your trucks have driven for the month. And then the operating days, this is optional. If you wanted to see what your total expenses is for the day, you can put how many days your truck was driven. For example, let's say 26 days. Next, we want to input our expenses here at the monthly expenses. And there are two different expenses. There are fixed expenses, which are expenses that don't change month to month. They are the same price every month. And variable expenses, which are going to vary month to month, like fuel. Fuel expenses will, sometimes be more or less different months. Okay, so for the fuel, you're going to get these expenses from your fuel card provider. So let's say you spent $6,000 on the fuel, and then for driver pay, put how much you paid your driver. Let's just say 6,000 as well. If you have a truck payment, you can add that there. If you do not, put zero. But for this example, we'll just put a truck note of 1,800. If you have a box truck or a sprinter van, you would obviously just put zero for trailer payment. But if you do have a semi truck or a flatbed hot shot setup and you do pay for a trailer, you can add that. Let's just say $600 for that. And then obviously your insurance, add that for the month. Your maintenance and repairs. So this would be if you had any maintenance for the month or if you put any money to the side for your maintenance. So let's just do 1,400 for the month. Tires would be you could consider that maintenance, but I have it separated. So let's say that month you did get some tires, add that there. This would be tolls and pre-pass. Pre-pass is usually per device. I think it's like $20 a month, and then whatever you spent on tolls for the month. ELD technology. This could be your ELD if you're paying for a tablet or any other tech that you might have in your truck. You can add that there. If you do pay for truck parking, add that. If not, you can do zero. If you have a factoring company that you use, you can add that there. If not, you can leave that zero. Permits and compliance, for example, your quarterly IFTAs or any paperwork registration, things like that, you can add that there. So let's say, we spent 120. I do recommend that you get some kind of accounting software like QuickBooks. So let's say you spent $40 for that. Your phone, internet, you can add those expenses as well. If you went to a truck wash for the month. And then for other, you can add any other expenses that I did not have listed, or you can add custom expense. So let's say you have a dispatcher, you can add that there. Say you spent $1,000 on dispatcher, and then any other expenses that is needed to operate your truck, right? Let's say you spent some money on marketing to recruit for a driver. You spent $250 that month. You can add that there. I did add a frequently asked questions here. So what is a CPM? Why does CPM matter? What miles should I enter? Just quick frequently asked questions. If you want to save the data, you can click Save My Inputs, and that will save it on your web browser. So if you're using a Google Chrome, it'll save that for you. Just click Save My Inputs. And if you ever want to delete the inputs, click Reset, and that will delete what you've added here. All right, so now the live results will update. Here are a couple things that we can see. The cost per mile is right here. This is how much it would cost for us every mile that we're driving. So right now I'm seeing $1.70. So you would need to make sure you're booking loads for more than $1.70 to be profitable. If you're booking loads for less than $1.70, you'll be losing money. And I'll explain more on the low profit section. Total monthly expenses, this is how much you spent for the month. That has it right there. And it shows you the fixed cost versus the variable cost. Shows you the total miles and your cost per day. So on average, you need to make at least $750 just to break even. Anything more than 750 is where you would start making a profit. All right, now the chart just kind of shows you the data in an easy way, visual. So you can see like 30% of our expenses went to fuel. 30% we also went to driver pay. 9% went to truck payment. 5% of our expenses went to insurance. Now, if you scroll down, you can see this button that says export, and you can print the data or you can export it as an Excel or CSV. So if I click print, it'll show me a preview of what I can download or what I can print, and it'll show me all my cost per mile for that month. Next, I can export it as a CSV and view my data on like Excel or Google Sheets. This will show you all of your expenses, your cost per mile, and your expenses. Your total monthly expenses, your cost per mile, $1.69, cost per day. Everything is going to be here, and it's easy for you to save. So that way you can compare it month to month. So if you want to know what your cost per mile for March 11th was, you can go back and take a look. All right, so that is it for the CPM calculator section. The next section is going to be the load profit. So whenever you update the CPM here, whenever you add all your information, it does pull here into the load profit. So if you see right here, it has your CPM calculator. Now this is where you're going to be using when you're trying to book a load. So let's say you're on the load board and you're planning to book a load. The first thing you want to do is add the load up miles for that load. So let's say that load was 550 miles, and then add the deadhead miles. So let's say it was 45 miles away from where you were located. Your truck miles per gallon, you just want to make sure you update this once. So, let's say the average is 7.2 miles per gallon. And then the current diesel price. So let's say right now the diesel price is $4.90. And then this is where you would put your desired profit on the load. So how much you want to make on that load. So let's say I want to make at least 700 bucks. If you come down here, this will give you some of the information like your target rate needed. This is how much you would need to ask for the broker in order to get your $700 profit. Look, if I make this $300, it goes to 1309, meaning this is how much I would need to ask for in order to make my $300 profit. Okay? So I'll put it back in 700. So let's say if the broker paid us 1800, it'll say meets your target, and it says that we will make at least $790 profit, which is good. But let's say if the broker is only paying $1,400, it'll say it's profitable but below your goal. The reason why it says profitable but below your goal is because my break even number, just for me to pay my bills and meet my cost per mile, it's going to be $1,009 that I would need to make. And since we're making 1,400, we are making $390 profit, but it's below our goal of 700. Okay. Now let's say if they were only paying $1,000 on the load, then you can see that we're actually losing $9. So this is a great tool to use when you're talking to the brokers, when you're negotiating with the brokers. And if you have a dispatcher, they can always click copy shareable link, and they can share this with you or with any of the drivers or owner operators to show them exactly how much they're going to be making on this load. So you always want to make sure that the tool is saying, that you met your criteria or you met your target. That is what you want to look at. You see over here where it says estimated fuel cost, this is looking at, the current diesel price. So if the diesel price is increasing, let's say it goes up to $5.50, you can see that the diesel price increased or the estimated fuel cost increased. What if diesel goes down to $3.20? It decreases now, it's $264, right? It gives you your estimated fuel gallons needed to do this trip. All the data is going to be here, right? You can also export this as well. If you have any questions, you can send me an email. My email is info@truckingwithmook.com. Please let me know your thoughts. If there's anything that you want to see in the CPM calculator, let me know. Or if you have any issues, I hope you enjoyed this product. And I would love to get a review from you. Send me an email with your review or any questions that you might have. Thank you.